Greetings. Welcome to a podcast series by Ramaya College of Law, where we host our distinguished alumni. I, Dhanavi Bopaya, I am the host for today, and I have with me Rahul Mahatme, legal counsel for Decathlon.
Thank you, Gnanvi. Great to be here.
It is our pleasure to host you back at Ramaya College of Law. So, to begin with the most basic question, which a lot of law students wonder, is what exactly does an in-house lawyer do?
So I would say what an in-house lawyer does depends largely on which company he is in. So you have, say, companies where the in-house lawyer reports to the CFO. You have companies where the in-house lawyer reports to the government relations team. Or you have companies where the in-house lawyer reports to the the board of directors directly. So you have a legal head who's in the board of directors and you directly report to the legal board of directors. So depending on how the company is structured, your role as an in-house counsel will vary. So there are times that you will work almost like say a law firm lawyer, wherein you only advise the business team and then the business team takes the risk or takes the decisions. Or you might take the risk or decisions alongside business teams. If you are in a specific field, you might find that, say, if you're in, if you're in a team where you're working with the labor law team or the HR team in a company, you might find that a lot of them know the law already. They have the basics of law, or because of their experience, they might know the law better than you. So I think your role in the company then may also depend on what are the existing expertise that the company already has through other roles and what they actually need. Mainly, I would say the role is risk prevention and mitigation. And in case something does turn out, then damage control. So that is mainly what an in-house lawyer does.
Okay, so you've worked in some of India's dynamic sectors, like you transitioned from steel, power to automotive, FMCG, and currently you're dealing with retail. So how has the journey been to transition from one sector to another? Do you have a common experience which helps you with this, or did you have to learn, unlearn when you transition between sectors?
I would say it was more about building on the experience that I already had. So the first company that I worked for was Jindal Steel and Power. I joined in the risk and compliance department. So my role was to set up the compliance tool for the entire factory. So I had to learn not only the financial compliances, but also, say, the technical compliances and the factory law compliances. Like simple compliance, like how do you maintain the chains? So under factory law, if you have to, say, have your cranes and your chains in a maintained in a certain way, those are also compliances that we looked at. So there was, I think what we were taught is how to, say, approach a problem or how to approach compliances. Now, the expectations of say, my future roles were slightly different. So later on within Jindal, I moved to, say, litigation. But I had a background of exactly how the factory functions. So when there were litigations relating to the factory, I knew exactly why those litigations were coming up or why those issues were coming up. Most of those would have been because of, say, certain projects were shut down. So when a project shuts down, there is machinery which, you can't take back. There's machinery which goes as scrap. So if there is a litigation related to that, I had a ground level exposure to know, how to deal with it. Or if I'm negotiating, so if I want to, say, prevent litigation, if I want to negotiate with the vendor, so how do I approach that? I think it was more about building up on what I had already learned. So when I moved to Mondelez, it was completely different because the way of working was different. It was more formalized. It was more on emails, like, say, initially in a factory, people are more casual, right? You speak in Hindi. A lot of the people do not come with a corporate background or mindset. So they are more, friendly in their approach. But when you're in a corporate, like a proper MNC, the way of working is very different. So I think what I really had to learn was the way of working and my expectations, like what they were really expecting from me. Over here, I had to give a proper standard, say, if I had to give advice, it had to be a very formal advice that I had to give them. Moving on to, say, Kia Motors, it was a company that was just setting up. I was one of the first lawyers that they hired. So there was no structure, there was no process. I had to set up the processes in many cases along with the GC at the time. And over there, by that time, I had enough experience. So even though I was not able to spend as much time with the GC because the GC was always traveling with, say, government related affairs or other, work with the main head office. I think because I had the ground level experience initially, I knew what to do. So again, I had to set up a factory. I knew exactly what all issues will come up in the future and what all steps I should take, what all processes I should set up right now to make sure there are no issues in the future. And so when I came to Decathlon, this is a purely retail company. There is a production element to it, but there's also, say, a retail and the branding element to it. And I now work at the head office.
Okay.
So unlike earlier where I used to mostly work with the legal team, now I work with all the stakeholders in the company.
All right.
So again, the learning is more about how you communicate, but I would say I am building on what I've already learned. So it is all about aligning yourself with the company's requirement from time to time. But the experience that you have always helps.
So to add on to this, now, what are the different skills which you had to pick up along the way? Because being an in-house lawyer, you're not just dealing with the legal team, you're dealing with the business and you're dealing with various other teams. A lot of times you are doing the job of peacekeeping between the marketing team or the strategy development team, so on. So what are the different types of skill sets which you need to develop along the way being an in-house lawyer?
So I think the first thing is understanding the business and the people. So there are organizations which are very risk averse, and there are organizations who are willing to take the risk for the for making the next big thing, right? So you have to align yourself with it and see what they require. So accordingly, you will have to upskill yourself. So whenever a major project came up, right? I think you have to just be daring to say, yes, I want to be a part of it. Even if at times you may not have the right skill set for it, and then be ready to learn. Like if you're working with, say, a lot of people from marketing, you will be exposed to a lot of marketing jargon, or you will be exposed to a lot of technical aspects of marketing which you may not be aware of. But there will be a steep learning curve. But if you can have 3-4 months to really understand and then start advising or then be part of the project, I think that is what you have to be ready for. So it is not one skill set, but that skill set keeps changing.
All right. So your career has basically spanned an entire business life cycle, be it from land acquisition to strategic development. Now, looking at different stages of the business, which stage did you think was more challenging for you from the in-house side?
So I would say each stage came up with its own challenges. But I think the most challenging part is the prevention part, risk prevention, because you're trying to look into the future and predict what can go wrong, especially in today's geopolitical situation. Say, if I have to predict what can go wrong with our imports from China or our imports from, say, even our local production, right? Predicting the future and advising on that risk is the hardest part, because you're always working with limited information. And there is a lot of ambiguity in the way the government, is going to take up, say, a certain industry as well. So I would say that is the most challenging, where the law is there and, there is a set process. It is still okay. That there is the question is, what is the timeline? Or whether we will, win the case or lose the case, or what is the timeline for the case. But that we can still predict to a certain extent. But future, regulation is something which is very difficult to predict.
All right. So before we wrap up, this is one question which I ask all the alumni of Ramaiah College of Law. What is the one advice you would give your younger self?
I would say be more open to slightly riskier opportunities. I would say moving in-house was a safe option.
Okay.
Right? It was a good option. It worked out well. But there were a lot of other fun opportunities which I might have missed. So I think
Is there anything which you missed? Any fun opportunities which you missed?
Yes. So I remember there was this one opportunity which came in for Hawaii. It was a 1-year project.
Okay.
And again, we didn't know what's going to happen after that 1 year. And it wasn't paying very well either. But it seemed like a fun opportunity. I instead chose to move in-house, which paid well and was a more stable
Okay.
opportunity. But that could be one.
Do you think it would have made a difference if you had gone with the previous option?
I have no idea. I cannot imagine where it would have landed me.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for today's session with our distinguished alumni. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in for this session. Catch you in the next session.